now that we've programmed our demographics block, we're going to take a look at how we can program another common type of item that we may want to use in Qualtrics. And for this is going to be more of a demonstration. You don't have to actually program this exact series of questions, but you're probably going to program something like it. The majority of you will be using a question format like this. And the question format we're going to be looking at are Likert scales. So Likert scales ask people to rate their agreement with a series of statements or something like that. It doesn't have to be agreement necessarily, but it could be agreement versus disagreement, liking versus disliking, or whether a character trait represents them or doesn't represent them, something like that. It's a bipolar scale that goes from not agreeing with or disassociation to agreeing with or association. So first, what we want to do is we want to create a new block that is going to contain our Likert scale. So to create a new block separate from our demographics block, we're going to go to the bottom of our demographics block, and there's a little button here that says Add Block, and we're going to click that. So this is going to be a blank block. It's not going to have any questions. And so what we want to do is we want to click the Create New Question button. So this is going to, by default, bring up a multiple choice question. And what we want to do is create a Likert scale. So this is done in the Change Question Type menu. So we can click down here to change question type, and this is the matrix table type question. The default for the matrix table type question is Likert type. You can see if you click the matrix table menu here, there are several different options, but the default is going to be Likert single answer, which is what we're going to use. So you can just click matrix table. So this is what it brings up. It brings us this 3x3 table where we have 3 scale points and 3 statements. And now we can customize how we want this to look. So we are going to want, I'm going to want for my scale this to be a question that asks about agreement. So I'm going to first write my question, which is please rate your agreement with each of the following statements. And so I want my scale to have 5 points and 4 statements. So I'm going to change the number of scale points up here to 5 and the number of statements to 4. So now you see we have 5 scale points across the top and 4 different statements across the side. So I want my scale points to range from strongly disagree, and then it might, change it. Qualtrics, again, tried to get clever on me, and it added 2 additional scale points, thinking that it wants agreement questions to be 7. I don't in this case. I just want it to be 5. I think that's enough, so I'm going to go back to scale points, switch it down to 5. But you can see it did actually fill in everything that I wanted, which is a nice little feature. So it ranges from strongly disagree, somewhat disagree, neither is agree or disagree, somewhat agree, and strongly agree. And this is totally fine for my purposes. That matches what I wanted. So now I'm going to add in the statements. So the first statement is Qualtrics seems very useful. So if you were taking this Likert scale, you would see that statement, Qualtrics seems very useful, and you would report back how much you agree with that statement. The next statement is research methods is super fun. I think it is. The next one is going to be about the course instructor for the sections that I am responsible for. Her name is Deborah. So I'm going to write Deborah is a great teacher. Oh, I spelled her name wrong. And teacher. And then the last statement is going to be about me. And then my name is Mark, and it's going to be I could live without Mark. And obviously, this last one is a reverse-coded item. We're going to want to flip that one around because that's not who could live without me. So that's pretty much it for creating a Likert scale. It's pretty simple. There are other ways you can do it, but this one is the most straightforward and easy to program. One tip: if you have several statements, you're going to want to break this up into multiple tables. So if I had, let's say, something that was that had 15 statements, this is very long, and this may not fit on the full screen when you actually give it to people to take the survey. So I would break this up into 2 different tables with the first, 8 items on the first table and the last 7 on the next table. But for a short one with only 4 statements, which is what we have here, this is totally fine. You can leave this all as one. So let's say that this is my survey. I'm done. I want to check it. What I can do is I can click this preview button, and this is going to give me a sense of what my survey looks like. So I go to preview, and it's going to bring up this block of demographic questions. So they want to collect some information about me, so I'm going to answer these questions. I'm male. I am graduated. I am white. I am from Brooklyn, New York. And Brooklyn is urban. So once I enter all that information, I can click the next button. And now here's our Likert scale. So I agree Qualtrics is useful. I agree research methods is fun. Deborah is great. And I could not live without myself. So now that I have entered that, I click the next button. And that's all I have programmed in my survey. So that's just a good way for you to check and make sure everything's doing what you think it's doing, is to preview your survey. Another thing this helps you with is, now that I've previewed my survey, I can check to make sure that the data is being recorded. So I can do this with the Data and Analysis tab up here at the top. This is going to take a second to load up. And oh, it's going to index the data. Sometimes it does this. It just means it needs a little while to load. So in the meantime, what we can do is we can make sure that we are sharing our survey, because everyone's going to need to share their survey with their instructor, possibly with me. I mean, we may have everyone share their survey directly with me, so we could throw it all together. It's either going to be me or it's going to be your lab instructor that you have to share your survey with. So the way we do this is we go back to the survey tab here. I clicked it, but I'll click it again just to make sure it's clear. So now we're back in our survey, and we're going to click Tools. Then we're going to click Collaborate. So my name is M. Himmelstein, $Fordham. I can't enter myself, so it's not a great example, but if you're in my lab section or I'm going to be working on your survey, you're going to want to collaborate with me there. But I will, for the purposes of the video, show you what it's going to look like with a different lab instructor. So in this case, I'm going to use Yasmin. So you see, once I start to type in her name, it populates here. Then I click Add. You just click OK. You don't need to send a message. And then you just have to make sure you check off every box here. So you want the person that you're sharing with, in this case, to be able to do all of these different things. Maybe you'll collaborate with someone else in the future where you don't want them to be able to activate or deactivate for some reason. But in this case, you want to give full permission to whoever you're sharing with. So I'm not going to actually do it, but once you are done, you would click Save here, and then that would allow the person you're collaborating with it to have access. So I'm going to confirm that I don't want that. And then let's go back and check the Data and Analysis tab, see if it's indexed. And it has. So here we see you get a little bit of a preview of the data. So you see what I entered for my hometown, what year I am, so on and so forth. You can also view the full response with this menu here. So this will bring up just a page that shows what all the full response was for this person. You don't necessarily need this, but that is there. And if you wanted to download your data, you could click Export and Import, Export Data, and this will give you a .csv file. Don't worry too much about that. We're going to thread your data into something that you can use on our end, but just in the future when you're using Qualtrics, know that that's how you would do that. Otherwise, Qualtrics has a ton of functionality we didn't go over here. If your project requires anything we didn't cover, we're happy to show you how to do it, but this should cover most of what most of you are going to need. And once everybody's survey is shared, we'll put them all together so that there's one long survey that we can all answer. We will put together an SPSS file for you, and then that way you can analyze it after everyone takes the survey.